Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Did everyone get the list of survey questions that I sent out last week?
Did.
Okay. I want to go ahead and just jump in with those. Those are all the ones that were submitted to me via email. And I did get a little bit of feedback on it, but I wanted to get the group's opinion on what you thought as far as what questions you feel like were really good ones that we should focus on. I know there's a couple of them that are pretty similar. Michelle Griffin emailed me with her thoughts. She's not able to be on today, but we have Dravel Taylor, one of the other mobility managers, on with us today. And
hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I'm in the middle of a quick meeting, really quick.
Oh, sorry. Okay. While Ken is in her meeting, does anybody else have any questions or comments about the questions that were submitted? Any input as far as which ones you think we should focus on for the survey?
They were all good questions, Christina. A lot of it, of course, I'm in a rural area, so we really have a problem. And I noticed, one of the main questions to KDOT was the clients are missing their appointments because they don't pick them up, or they pick them up and they leave them in there at the doctor's office or wherever they went for quite a while. Because I do the reimbursement and I know they know what time they need to be there and pick up. So I don't understand how they can miss appointments or leave them at the doctor's office. That is a big deal. And of course, in this rural town, we use our Council of Aging transportation program because it's all donation. And so they get to go shopping other than just to appointments.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know about anywhere else, but I know I live in a more populated area and we have that problem with if they're having to pick them up, it's 5 hours before their appointment, and then after their appointment gets done, they're having to wait another 3 or 4 hours before somebody can come back and pick them up. Or I've even had once where they say, "Oh, sorry, we forgot we were supposed to come back and pick you up," and they were pretty much sitting at the hospital all day waiting for them to come back. So yeah, that's I have a feeling that's probably a problem in a lot of areas. Anybody else have any thoughts as to which questions you want to put as far as the survey goes?
Another thing they need to realize, not everybody's got computers. So, tell them to go here, tell them to go there. That site's not going to work.
Yeah, that's definitely true. In this age of technology, they have to understand not everybody either has access or wants access to that sort of thing. So
we run into a problem where the retired senior volunteers used to take people even to the grocery store or wherever they needed to go, just so they let them know 24 hours ahead of time. But now I saw the sign on their door that said they had to let them know 48 hours ahead of time. And also, I had talked with one of my consumers, and they had told me that even with the city transit, they're only allowed to go one time a week. If you need to go somewhere another day or a couple of places, they were only letting them ride the bus once a week. I mean, and that's with the paratransit. Now, with the regular city transit, it has its routes, and you just have to go get on the bus. But I don't think, to be truthfully honest, I don't think our transit system is that well publicized, except for in the newspaper and maybe in some of the low-income housing areas, but other people really don't know.
Yeah, and that's crazy that they're only allowing them to go once a week. You know, especially if the regular transit that it isn't accessible to people with disabilities. Because you can't fit everything in one day. So yeah, that can definitely be an issue. As well as making sure that people know that it's there, because if they don't know it's there, you can't use it. So
We have
thank you.
another program that comes out of our office. It's through the 4 County Mental Health, and it's called RSVP. And we have individuals that volunteer to take them, and they get a little bit of gas mileage. I think they've went up to 46 cents a mile. But again, like she said, they can only get paid for one trip a month. And, you know, sometimes you got to go back to the doctor 2 or 3 times that month. So
Right.
that's a problem. You know, I haven't had anybody turn them down because they won't get paid that little bit, but you know, it does make a little difference, because the people that I have that's doing it, they're in their 70s and 80s. So they're on a fixed income also. So
Hey, Diana, with your RSVP program, who is the financier behind that, or is that all donation based?
they get grants is what it's out of Independence through that 4 County Mental Health, and Kathy Shepherd's the director I go through, and she says grants is how they get the money. And the more hours our volunteers, because I don't know, like I do commodities and we get to turn in our hours for that. Different things we do, we can turn in hours. So I presume all the hours we do goes towards the transportation.
Okay. One of the things I've been trying to work on here in Lawrence Douglas County area that we haven't finished getting implemented yet, still in the planning phase, is a volunteer transportation like that. But we've been looking at working with medical facilities in a different perspective. So we would have them sign some kind of financing agreement where they would pay a certain amount of dollars per vehicle mile traveled for the transportation. And so that would be another source of revenue potentially if you can get them on board. And we frame it in a way that if people don't show up to your appointments, then you don't get the insurance money from, you know, whatever procedures that you guys need. And so if they're able to cough up, you know, a couple, like $100 for a trip or whatever, if it's, you know, long distance or whatever, then they're still making a really good profit instead of having that no call, no show repeatedly. So
That sounds like a good idea. Do you guys have Council of Aging there in Lawrence? Because that's what we have, a transportation program. We have put it in the budget for the commissioners, and they give the transportation so much besides our senior citizens. And
yeah,
that's how we've been running ours. And it's all donation if our customer, because some of our customers don't have the money to, you know, they may give a nickel or something. That every little bit counts. We don't turn away anything, but that's how our van is being is by the money is by the commissioners through our taxes.
yeah, most of it's through donation, the grants, and there's some county dollars involved as well. And then there's some in-kind donations through the city for like facilities and stuff. And then are you part of the CTD down there? The Coordinated Transit District through KDOT?
No, no. They were, but lost it. And
Zoom
It's up-
meeting. You're like,
it's up to KDOT. Once you lose it, it's up to KDOT if they ever put you back on, and can't even get them to return my calls.
Okay. If you want to send me an email, I can see if I can restart conversations between you and KDOT. No promises. You know, even mobility managers, we don't get as many responses as we need sometimes, but definitely if you want to send me an email, I can see if I can get a meeting set up with you and KDOT about what you guys would need to do to get back on board with their program.
I'll get your email from Christina. Do you have the email?
Yes.
Okay, she can send it to me.
And I'll put it in the chat for you.
Okay. Thank you for that input. Anybody else have any other comments about what's being shared or what's going on in your area? Any input as far as the survey questions?
For the survey, this is all going out to agencies that are providing transportation, correct?
Yes.
Do you know what kind of dispatching software that all the agencies are using?
That I don't.
That might be a good question because a lot of places are using pencil and paper. And depending on how they're doing it with pencil and paper, there's like 2, 3, 4, 5, or a dozen ways of how you can come up with human error. And that could contribute
Yeah.
a lot to missed rides. And so you can get them onto a dispatching software that they could just print out a sheet for their drivers every day. That would reduce a lot of human error.
That can definitely help. I will see what I can do to find out on that, but that would probably be a good question to add.
So like the goal of the mobility managers is to make sure that our agencies are equipped to efficiently run their operations. And one of the things is dispatch software really makes a big difference in the everyday operations.
travel meeting, leave meeting. Desktop. Inbox, close. Desk login. Desktop.
But yeah, if there's no mobility manager in that region, if anybody is part of the CTD, definitely talk with your other CTD members and talk about getting a mobility manager down there. Because we all work together. I work closely with Michelle, who's all the way in Salina. I'm in Lawrence, but we talk every single day. So working together to, help.
Well, and we thank you for that, and that's definitely something to find out. I never would have thought about that, so thank you for that input.
Mhm.
Are you done? Sorry.
Well, no, it's okay. I was just going to say, did you have something?
Yeah. I don't know if we have a mobility manager in Lyon County, but I have several seniors who are wanting rides on Sundays, and our LCAT, our local transportation out here, doesn't run on Sundays. They're completely shut down, but they want to be able to go to church or the grocery store or find, friends and family to visit.
You guys do not have, that's in the Emporia region, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, you guys don't have a mobility manager in that region. We keep trying to get one in that region, but talks have not gone anywhere yet. So if you're part of the CTD, it would be probably you to, in your best, it'd be best for you to probably ask questions why they are why they haven't pulled the trigger. KDOT has switched the funding for the mobility managers to 100%, so there's no local match anymore. So really all it takes is an agency who wishes to be the host agency to be our fiscal agent and give us office space. So
And
just
what does CTD stand for?
the Coordinated Transit District.
Okay.
Here, let me put something in the chat for you to look at if you'd like.
Oh, that would be perfect.
Let's see. So this is a map of all the CTDs in Kansas. Oops. And you can click on any county on this map and it'll tell you the agencies that are KDOT funded within that area.
Okay, great, thanks.
You're welcome. So you're CTD 5 and then Diana, you're CTD 10, I believe you said Independence, Kansas. You're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry. Chautauqua County, but I think that's right, wasn't it, Christine? We just got a new one.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's my understanding. I think you, Greg, and I are all in the Independence.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it and see, but yeah, we just got a new one and I can't remember what the name is.
I tried to get on with the CTD in the Dodge City area, but don't know what they're doing or if they're even functioning.
We don't have a mobility manager down there. It's been really hard for us to get anything south or west of Salina. There's been little interest in the CTDs themselves to apply for a mobility manager position.
Yeah, I know they're for at least the last few years. We've been fighting with the CTD. They're like, oh yeah, you can, listen in, especially, doing Zoom. And then we're like, well, if you could continue to send us the information about the meetings and stuff like that. Oh yeah, sure. And then they quit sending it. And then, like you said, they won't return phone calls. You try emailing, then no emails there. And then you finally get a hold of somebody and they're like, oh, well, I have to I have to get you in touch with this person. And that's the person you've been trying to get in touch with all along. And then you never hear anything back. And so it's a battle. And even having contact with them, we weren't getting any input or information about what was continually going on in between the meetings and things like that. So yeah, it's been a real struggle. And I know, I think a couple meetings back, we decided that with the direction we were going, having them as maybe a point of contact would be a good thing, but it wasn't really conjiving with what we had going on versus what they were doing. There was just a lot of like I said, we spent more time fighting with them than them being a resource. So
yeah, there's a lot of territorialism that still goes on that we're, at least the places with a mobility manager, are trying to break down those hard lines and increase, efficiency and coordination with other agencies. It's just not everywhere has one yet, and it's still people are still very defensive over their funding. And
yeah, that's pretty much what we're finding is that it's difficult to yeah, they're very territorial with a lot of stuff. So but did I hear right? And you said that for mobility managers to get them set up, that KDOT is now fully funding that there's no you don't have to try and find the local match funding to help with that.
yep, that's correct.
Okay. That's good to know, because I know in some areas, as we were trying to do that, it was trying to find the local funding to match. So that's one barrier that's out of the way. So hopefully that'll help with trying to get some mobility managers set up in some other areas.
That's the goal.
especially in those rural areas that don't have a lot of, well, have less funding and less transportation options. So, but yeah, that's definitely a good thing. Anybody have any comments, questions, anything going on in your area you want to talk about? Any other input as far as survey questions that you want to throw out there?
So remind me, Christine, are we sending these into, who are we sending these questions into?
Once we actually get the survey put together and we get approval from the group, I'm sending it to Kathy Cooper, who is head of the Shilk, and she's going to help me get it administered to all the centers across the state, so they can fill out the survey or have their customers fill out the survey. And then I'm going to see if Greg will post it on the website for our group as well, to see if we can get some input on where the biggest struggles or the biggest successes are coming from, and then that way we can kind of focus in on the areas that are affecting most of our areas, or the issues that are fixing most of our areas. And then we can kind of focus our resources and our sorry, I just lost my thought. But anyway, basically a way to focus on those areas to see what we can do to fix them.
Yeah, I forgot it was Kathy Cooper, so I just wanted to make sure. Some of the individuals here may not realize where we're sending it.
Yeah. Kathy Cooper is our point of contact for the state group. And so we'll send it to her, and she'll send it out to or help me get it sent out to all the centers, so that hopefully we can get some input with that. Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay. One other thing that I wanted to get everybody's input is one of the members in our group mentioned doing maybe like a monthly or a bi-monthly newsletter that we can post on our website and other social media platforms, as far as, hey, this is some improvements that have been made in the transportation sector. Here's, what we're working on. Here's some, cool, interesting technology that's being developed, as far as making things more accessible, whether it's, for personal transportation. I know that they're working on making personal vehicles more handicap accessible, or, making public transit. I know there's been some progress on making in airplanes, making bathrooms more handicap, or actually having handicap accessible bathrooms, and ways for people to stay in their wheelchairs while they're on an airplane, which up until now hasn't really been an option. So we thought about maybe doing, like I said, just maybe like every other month, doing an updated newsletter and having you guys throw in any interesting articles or, information that you've come across as far as anything in the transportation sector. But I wanted to get your guys' input and see if that's something you guys might be interested in. If you think it might be useful or beneficial in a way to get it, more traffic to our website and other social media outputs. Does anybody have any thoughts or ideas about that?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Michael Nava. And again, yeah, I'm with I sit on the SOAP board. And I apologize for coming late, but again, I'm visually impaired and it took me a while to find a link to join the group. But no, I thought the newsletter sounds good. I am visually impaired, as I just mentioned. And I live in Kansas City, Kansas, so Wyandotte County and Johnson County, we're having issues in the metropolitan area on both states, I hate to say, with like the private transportations, Ubers and Lyfts, with not allowing service dogs. So anyone that has a service dog, they refuse to take, or they just drive away. So we're trying to address that issue, but I would like to see, maybe again, something that the newsletter we can spread, because I know that we're not unique here in our area. I've heard stories throughout the state in both Kansas and Missouri.
No, yeah, definitely. That's something we could definitely, try and find, information and focus on that as well. Because you're right. It's not just your area that's having that issue. I know we have that issue down here in Crawford County in the southeastern part of the state. And I'm sure, other folks that are on here have probably have similar stories. So yeah, definitely service animals and support animals in public transportation. So yeah, that's definitely something that we can look in as far as the newsletter and possibly on the survey as well to see if, where that's at. But yeah, but thank you for bringing that up, Michael. That's definitely an issue that we could look at and try and get more information on and see what we can do to help facilitate a change, hopefully. Anybody else have any other comments, questions?
That should be pretty illegal not to allow the service animals, if they're truly service animals, onto the public transportation, because they are needed for the disability.
Right. But unfortunately, that a lot of them don't abide by the ADA regulations, and it is illegal. And we're talking about doing some lawsuits to force and to address that issue. And like you pointed out, this is also a problem we've noticed, not as much, but even on public transportations, that, just like with wheelchairs, not every bus, unless, especially the older ones, are equipped. And so they have difficulty, say, well, we can't accommodate you. And same thing with service animals, they don't know how to handle them. And so sometimes they just, refuse, well, I can't take your dog. But that's where, again, unfortunately, it's an individual case-by-case issue, but we're trying to address it at a larger level, because it seems like it's becoming academic or expanding to, it's just one person will do it, then the next time, well, so-and-so didn't allow it, so I guess I can do the same thing too. And so it's beginning to expand and grow, and we want to stop that.
Yeah, for sure. That really needs to be addressed, though, because I mean, it's a need. It's how you get around for a lot of people. It's just the same as, having eyes or legs for those people that need their service animals.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not only transportation, but facilities. A lot of them, we have the ADA, in place, but a lot of them don't follow it, or it's not being enforced. And so that's where a lot of them, basically think that that doesn't apply to their organization or facility. And so unfortunately, even that's still a battle here in 2023.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And I know, and it's been an ongoing issue as well, but occasionally we get people in there that are like, my landlord's trying to evict me because I have a service animal and they have a no pet policy that they put in place. And it's like, well, a service animal is not really a pet. It's a service animal. And so that's, unfortunately that kind of crosses a lot of areas. So like you said, we need to help stop that from spreading any farther than it already has. So anyone else have any other thoughts, comments on anything that's been talked about? Anything you want to share from your area that might be something that we can help you with? Ideas toss around.
Are still one of our main concerns are folks who are trying to get to say Wichita for medical appointments, that they're really now if they abide by the rules of RSVP, then they may get a ride. But if it's something that's that is unusual, or if somebody from another county that's not covered by RSVP, they're kind of out of luck if they're going to try to get to say Wichita or to Hayes for medical treatment. And then with the medical situation that has kind of turned itself upside down in Dodge and Garden partially. So it's just trying to get, sometimes it's a case by case thing. You have to kind of find people in the community who are willing to donate their time and their dollars to take people to their medical appointments. God forbid if they have to go to Kansas City, that's like pulling major teeth.
Oh, I bet, especially, it's pretty much all the way across the state from where you're at. So I can understand why that would be an issue, especially if they're not covered under the RSVP. Okay.
I will make a comment about the reimbursement that I talked about a while ago on the Medicaid or from KenCare. It's a pain in the neck, and I'm doing one for my customer, and they still owe for 5 months from last year. And so that's also a thing, is a reimbursement. You get somebody to take you and they get reimbursed the mileage, but their mileage and the car mileage isn't the same. So
Yes.
that's another thing they probably do also, but I think it's just for medical, doctor's appointments, stuff like that. I've not had anything else that they wanted to do. It's just always been cancer treatments or doctor's appointments, things like that. I'm not real sure if there is, if they will pay for shopping or anything like that.
In my experience with trying to do reimbursements, it's usually just like medical appointments and, take them to the hospital or, or anything like that. They won't do anything, especially for, anything non-medical related. I'll put it that way. Even if, the nearest grocery store is 2 counties over and, the worker has to take them over there to get, to get groceries or anything like that. And then they're kind of out of luck with that unless the customer volunteers to pay them at least a little bit of gas money, which is not required from the customer. But yeah, that can that's definitely an issue. And like I said, even trying to get them to pay for reimbursement for the mileage to the doctor's appointment, like you said, they owe her from last year. And it's fighting them, and the little bit they do pay doesn't really cover, but yeah, that can definitely be an issue as well. Anybody have any thoughts or input on anything else or anything that's been brought up that you want to talk about? Um, okay. If nobody else has anything they want to talk about, I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. If you have any thoughts or any more input and you want to send me an email as far as the survey or the any ideas or information you might want to put in the newsletter, we'll work on getting that together. If nobody objects to that, we'd love to have your input on anything that you've come across or anything that you hear about. And then, like I said, if you have any other questions or comments about the survey questions that have been sent in, I'll work on getting the survey itself put together, and I'll send it out to everyone to get your final input and approval for the survey before I send it to Kathy, who's on the Silk board with Michael. So we can work on getting that out and hopefully getting some feedback from some people.
Are we going to try to narrow down those questions to just a couple, or are we going to keep
Yeah.
it at the 13, 14?
And no, we're trying to narrow it down. That's why when I emailed out, I'd asked, for anybody's input on what questions you think we should focus on and what, and like I said, there's a few on there that are pretty much the same. So we were looking at kind of paring those down. I know some of the input I got back said that they really liked the questions that were submitted by Renee from KDOT. And some of those were kind of the same, where you could kind of fit them under the same questions, just kind of make it like a 2-part question. But like I said, if you have any input on that, you might, just shoot me an email if you don't want to talk about it here. And we can, like I said, we can pare it down and I'll work on paring it down some too, based on everyone's input, and I'll send it out. And once we do that, we can, like I said, we can talk about it then. If there's some questions like you really feel strongly that should have been on there that we didn't leave on there, or vice versa, we can go over that, and we can revise the survey as many times as we need to before we send it out. But I really like having your guys' input on something like this, because it's a group effort. And there's certain areas that focus on certain, have certain issues that maybe none of us do. So it's good to have your input on what affects your area the most, that you've seen and things like that. So any input is appreciated on that front. So, but yes, we're looking to pare it down to we were hoping around no more than 5 questions. That seems to be a good number for most people. But I know we had like I said, we had quite a few questions that got submitted, so we may expand that if we can't pare them down, or we may do one survey and then, depending on the outcome of that one, we may do another survey with other questions, once we get through the first one. So it's a fluid situation at this point, but we're welcome to hear any input from anybody at this point on what ones you think we should focus on. So
Sounds good. Hello, this is Michael.
yes.
No, only because I'm a new member, and as you just said that you guys are going to be wrapping up, that could I, kind of give a quick overview of what the work group does? And I heard that you're going to be meeting a little bit more frequent than before. Could I get just a quick overview of the transportation?
Sure. Yeah, we meet every 3 months to try and figure out, what issues that everybody's dealing with and what we can do to try and help figure out, if there's anything that anybody else is dealing with, they may be able to help say, Suzanne has an issue that, you know, Keena's dealt with. And so she's like, well, this is what worked in our area. So you might try just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. The idea of the survey is to help kind of narrow the focus, and so that we can work on like the areas that affect the most of the group area, so that we can, instead of kind of jumping from, you know, issue to issue every month, just to kind of focus our efforts in certain areas. The idea for the newsletter was to just get more input from the group and to get more word out there about, hey, this is what's going on in transportation. We do have our website, which people can go to share their stories, or if there's issues. It's got information about the mobility managers, and the different transitions in different areas that people can go to if they have questions or want information. There's a way to interact with us, you know, there on our Facebook page. We have Twitter, that is managed by Greg York. He's not on the meeting today. But we just kind of meet every few months just to touch base, and hopefully, like I said, with a survey, we can narrow our focus into certain key areas that are having issues, and we can work on those instead of just kind of jumping from issue to issue every month. So.
Okay, well, that helps.
I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, a bit, because again, I live in Kansas City, Kansas, but I represent the kind of the Kansas City area, which is basically 2 counties, Wyandotte County and Johnson County, and each one is like night and day. Wyandotte County is a poor area, and very little resources, and unfortunately, it seems like the county doesn't put much money into it. And Johnson County is a rich area and has a great service.
Right.
And so that's why I wanted to find out, on what the scope of what you guys do and what areas, because I pointed out, I do use public transit because I'm disabled, so I don't drive, as well as private. And again, like I told you, we're trying to address this issue locally, not only of the service animals, but a lot of the restrictions for people with disabilities in our area. Because I also work with the local SPIL, the whole person, as well as I serve on the Kansas Disability Caucus Board. So again, these are issues we're always trying to address, because it seems like it's ongoing, and it's always a problem no matter where you go, a big city or urban area. It just, like I said, it seems to be an issue. And I was curious, did anyone attend the DOT symposium that was just held? Did they provide any useful information?
I don't know if anybody from our group did attend. Is anybody on today, or do you know of someone who attended that wasn't or is not on today? I don't know if you have any. We're missing a number of members, so one of them may have. But yeah, with Michael, with you being a new member, I want to go around, because we have in our group, we have a lot of people, you know, across the state. We've got a few out in Western Kansas. I'm essentially just down the highway from you. But if we just want to go through real quick and just have everybody introduce themselves and where you're at in Kansas. I guess we'll start. Diana, do you want to go first?
Not really, but I will. I'm Diana Clanton. I'm an independent living coordinator for SPIL, Southeast Kansas Living Resource Center.
Suzanne.
I'm Suzanne Jan, and I'm in Emporia, and I'm an independent living specialist at my SPIL, the Resource Center for Independent Living.
Okay. Mignon.
I'm Mignon Lucky, and I am an independent living specialist for Beyond Barriers. I am in the Dodge City area, but I cover both independent living and older blind. With the older blind service, I'm covering 34 counties, independent living, probably about 5, whenever they need me as far as independent living goes. But older blind, I'm it for 34 counties, and I'm out in Dodge.
Okay. And I apologize. I mispronounce your name every time. Is it Kina?
Yep, it's Kina.
Kina.
I work
Yay, I
for-
got it right this time.
Good job. I work for Three Rivers and I cover Clay, Marshall, and Washington County.
Okay, thank you. Carity? That's how you pronounce your name?
Yes,
Okay.
I work for Independent Connection in Salina and we serve 9 counties.
Okay, thank you. Lanice?
Lanice, can you hear me?
Lanice. I'm gonna get it one of these days, Lanice, I promise.
It's okay. I'm Lanice Jordan. I run the transportation department in Lawrence, Kansas for Independence Incorporated, which is also a SPIL. Been here for about 16 years, so doing transportation for 10.
Okay. Jessica?
Yes, hi, I'm Jessica from Atchison County, and I just started maybe a month or so ago. So, so I don't know how many counties I cover. I do know I cover Highland and Wapena, Kansas, and Atchison. But I just started, so yeah, I'm kind of getting this kind of informational for me. But I'm glad to be aboard. Thank you, guys.
Well, thanks for joining us. And then we also have Dravel. He's a mobility manager. I don't think when you were talking, kind of introducing yourself earlier, Michael was on. If you want to.
Yeah, I'm Dravel Taylor. I'm the mobility manager for the Lawrence Douglas County region. I'm one of 6. I do a lot of work with all the transportation agencies, specifically the ones that are funded through KDOT. So Lanice is actually one of my agencies that I work very closely with.
Okay. And thank you for that. Michael, I guess, do you want to introduce yourself again?
Yes, my name is Michael Nava. I serve on the SILT board as well excuse me, as well as with the Kansas Disability Caucus here in Kansas. I also work with the whole person. I used to serve on the board, but now I work with some of their programs, which is the local SIL that serves both Kansas and Missouri, the greater metropolitan area, as well as also I'm active with the National Federation of the Blind and the ACB of Kansas, to where I work with the legislative committee. Actually, I just went to Washington at the beginning of the year and plan on doing it again on addressing some of the legal issues that we're facing here in Kansas and nationally. But I wanted to, again, join this group only because, yeah, we had this, again, big issue. We've been trying to fight transportation issues here locally. And so, as I said, I hopefully can get a lot of information and learn from you guys on how to take this a little further and address this to hopefully our legislators here in Topeka.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can help you with that. I do.
No, I was just gonna say, unlike I know several SILs and organizations, or being an independent, that I can kind of be a lobbyist, and so that's why sometimes I can go to. We can address this to legislators and representatives a little easier than some organizations can, but we try to do it as a group, with the Federation of the Blind and the ACB and so forth.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes having that group, that solidarity, and having that, like you said, that organization instead of just a bunch of individuals trying to do it on their own can definitely move some stuff along a little bit faster. You have a larger voice than just an individual here and there. So it's much appreciated for what you do as well. But yeah, hopefully we can continue to make a difference. Sometimes it's a small difference, but the small differences definitely add up.
Definitely little steps, everything.
Yes. Yeah. Little steps. And like I said, we have a few members that aren't on here that hopefully they'll be able to join us in the next meeting. But if no one else has anything that they want to talk about or go over, we can go ahead and join the meeting. I know everybody's really busy, but I want to thank you for your input and for joining today. And like I said, I'll take everybody's input and kind of pare down those questions and get them sent out to you for any more feedback that you guys want to put in. If nobody else has anything, we'll go ahead and let you go about your day, and we'll see you on the next meeting. Have a good day, guys.
Everyone take
You
care.
too. Bye.